BookTube, my name is Cait and this is my channel Chapter Cait. And today I'm going to be doing my TBR for February. There are 3 readathons that I'm going to be doing in the month of February, and those readathons are vaLITines, because I created it and it is my child for my birthday month. Also Blackathon, and then also Demonathon. What am I doing? So February is my birthday month, and it's also the shortest month of the year, as people that have calendars know, which means I have the least amount of time to read the most amount of books that I usually put on my TBR for the year. So my TBR today is also going over the challenges for vaLITines and our bingo board. I did post it on Twitter, and I have a document with it on there under the description of the vaLITines announcement video, and I also posted it on the community page on my YouTube channel. But I'm also going to go over the challenges in this video, so that way if you haven't seen it in one of those other places, you'll see it here. I'm going to try to put an individual book on each challenge for vaLITines, Blackathon, and Demonathon, but I'm likely going to double up on a lot of challenges, because like I only have so much time and focus and brain power. I have a full-time job, and I'm in a band, and I have other things. Sleep has to happen sometimes. So, since vaLITines is my baby, I'm going to go ahead and do those challenges first. So if you haven't heard of vaLITines, I'll go ahead and put a link to the announcement video in the card things. But here are the challenges on the bingo board. The first challenge is Old Love, and this is to read an old book that has like fond memories for you, something that you probably have already read. And for me, this is going to be Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. And for me, this is going to be Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. I have not read this since probably, I think, early middle school. Yes. But it was one of the first fantasies that I read outside of the Chronicles of Narnia, I think. So this introduced me to the fact that fairy tales can have a lot of scary violence in it as well, and that made me excited, and now I love fantasy. I'm okay, I see a therapist, it's fine. I don't remember a lot about the plot. I just remember, I think that she can talk to geese. I don't remember much of it. I just remember that it made me really excited and that it was something that I could really escape into, so I'm hoping to have a similar experience again. The second challenge on the bingo board is Black History Month, and this is to read a book by a Black author. And for this one, I'm going to read Asclepius by Christopher M. Rutledge. This is an independently published book. I actually met this author at BookCon last year. On the sort of perimeter of BookCon, there are authors that can kind of have their own tables, and they can sell their own books there and talk with readers and reviewers. So this book is about sort of a doctor of alternative medicines, and then there's a lot of sort of Egyptian medicinal practices involved in there. It's kind of a mystery, it's kind of conspiracy. I'm here for it. It's not very long. It's only 153 pages, so it shouldn't take me super long. And also with indie books, typically the font's kind of big, so that is also a nice thing. And I'm planning to like do a full review of this one either on Goodreads or as a video, because I do want to support indie authors. The next space on the bingo board is Love Note, and this is just to leave meaningful comments on videos that you enjoy on BookTube. And so it's not a reading challenge so much as a task challenge. And then we have the That's My Type space, and this is to read a book that is super in your comfort zone. Either one that just sounds exactly like something you would pick up, or something that has been recommended to you by someone who just knows you really well. And for this one, I'm going to be doing The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I actually got this in my book box, the Strand book box, which I think is the book hookup box. Yes. I usually would film an unboxing, but honestly I just wanted to enjoy unboxing something without filming it, and it was really great. It was an awesome box. I got a cool puzzle. I got this book. I got another fantasy book that I will include in this TBR also. So I don't know a lot about the synopsis of this book. I just know that I love Erin Morgenstern's writing. When I read The Night Circus, I really loved all the purple prose, and it was just so whimsical and magical, but also dark. And so I really hope this is sort of similar in that respect. Reading the synopsis, it looks like there is sort of underground a lot of tunnels and rooms that all hold stories, which makes me feel like, oh, that's abstract, and how are you going to write that? I'm excited to read it. It's a little chunky, but the cover is beautiful. Not that that matters. It does, because I'm shallow. But I feel like that falls very much into my comfort zone because it's so, you know, whimsical and magical and abstract. And the next book is First Date, and this is Read an Author's debut novel. And the one that I'm going to include is Blood Heir by Emily Wenzel. There was a lot of controversy around this book when the ARCs were out and people were reviewing them. She actually pushed back her publication date because of it. So I kind of wanted to read it and see sort of what all the fuss is about. I definitely respect the people that spoke out against the book, and I respect their point of view, but I did want to kind of read it and sort of understand for myself what it's about, and it looks very interesting. The synopsis is very interesting, so I would very much like to get more insight into this book. The next challenge is another task challenge, so it's something to do, not something to read, and it is show and tell. And this is to take pictures of your book and show your favorite books off on social media, so that could be Instagram or Twitter, whatever. And the mess you left when you went away. And then the next space is Skinny Love, and this is to read a book that is under 200 pages. I'm going to be reading The Ballad of Black Tom. I've heard nothing but good things about this book. It is a retelling of The Thing with the Big Octopus. So Lovecraft was known for being super racist, so this is actually a retelling from the point of view of a black man, and he's one of the characters in Call of the Cthulhu. 149 pages, so it definitely is under the 200 page limit of this, but there's magic involved, there's, you know, occult stuff, and also everyone that's talked about this has been singing its praises for a while now, so it's about time that I read it. The next book is Love Triangle, and this is to read a book in a trilogy. And for this one, I'm going to be reading The Wicked King, and this is the second book in the, what is it called? Children of the Air? Is that what the trilogy is called? I don't know. It's the Cruel Prince trilogy by Holly Black. These are fairies. They have fairy powers. They're very dark, though. It's not like the Tinkerbell sort of fairies. It's like the, you know, old style legit fairies that are super terrible to each other. I really enjoyed The Cruel Prince, so I'm kind of excited to read The Wicked King. I also have The Queen of Nothing that I have not read yet, but all of them are signed, which is exciting. I've had this on my shelf for a while now, so it's about time I get to it, but yes. There's a lot of like underhanded political maneuvers in this thing, but like through murder and stuff, so it's not fair to deny me of the gross silence that you give to me. You ought to know. And then the next challenge is Sharing is Caring, and this is to read a book that fits the challenge of another readathon. So I'm not going to give a recommendation for that because I'm going to also be including my TBRs for Blackathon and Demonathon. So that will take care of that space. And then the next challenge is Bubble Bath, which is a task challenge, and it's just to read in the bubble bath. Then we have Library Lovers Month, and this is to read a book from the library. I'm actually going to be using Hoopla for this purpose because I actually use Hoopla a lot for audiobooks. So what I do is I take a book that I already have and then I find it on Hoopla so that way I can listen to it during my commute because I drive an hour to and from work every day. And for that one I'm going to be reading The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. This has multiple main characters which I really enjoy. I'm not sure if it switches point of views or not, but I'm here for it. I know Christine Lynn Herman talked about doing a lot of research before writing this book, and I love a book that has a lot of good research behind it. Hopefully I will enjoy this as much as a lot of people that I follow on Twitter have enjoyed it. The next prompt is One Man's Trash, and this is to read a book that someone else didn't like very much. And for this one I'm going to be reading Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi. This is the sequel to Children of Blood and Bone. I loved Children of Blood and Bone, so I'm hoping that I will like this one as well. Obviously it takes a lot of elements from Avatar, which a lot of magic systems kind of do. They have all those elemental kind of magics, which I absolutely adore. But it also involves a lot of African mythology, which I'm here for, and honestly I can't wait to kind of continue the series because I was really upset when I finished the other book. I read it way too fast, and honestly I just need the next one. So my friend actually gave me this copy for Christmas so I can kind of finish it out. But I've heard a lot of people that didn't really like it as much, which makes me super sad, but also those same people probably didn't like the first one and I really liked that one. So the next space is just kind of a free space, and it's just to use the vaLITines tag on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube, wherever. Then we have Setup, and this is read a book that was recommended to you by someone. And for this one I'm actually going to continue reading Gardens of the Moon by Stephen Erickson. It is part of the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. It is a really high fantasy series. It's got a lot of super intense magic going on, a lot of stuff with gods and other kind of portal worlds and all this stuff that I can't really explain very well. But I've been trying to read it for a while now, and I'm like a smidge through the first book, so I'm gonna keep going. But it's a series that my husband's been recommending to me for a while, and I just kind of keep putting it off because long series are a lot. And also they're like mass market paperbacks, which I know is super shallow, but I have a hard time reading those tiny little fonts. Plus I really am enjoying it so far. There's a lot of symbolism and I love that kind of stuff. What am I doing? Then we have Longtime Crush, and this is to read a book that's been on your shelf for a while and you keep wanting to read it but something keeps getting in the way. And for me, that book is Wildwood by Colin Meloy with illustrations by Carson Ellis. Yes, I actually bought this book at the Strand last year, I think. Yes, at BookCon last year. I bought me a copy and then a copy for the sort of book swap that I had at the meetup and BookCon. And it turns out Leah, my friend from World of Leah Jane, actually got the other copy. So we were going to buddy read this. So if she's still up for buddy reading this month, then I will buddy read it with her. If not, I'll probably save it for another month. But this just reeks of magical forest, which I'm a huge fan of. But there's a main character named Prue, and her brother gets abducted by a murder of crows and taken into this magical wood place. So I'm guessing she's going to save him. And look at the cover. Look how magical and whimsical it looks. And I just love middle grade fantasies. They're so whimsical and they're not super concerned with things that make sense, which is perfect for fantasy. So next is The Newlyweds, and this is reading one of the most recent books on your TBR. And that book is going to be Monstrosity. And this is written by Laura Diaz de Arce, and I always say her name wrong and I keep practicing it over and over again and my mouth won't cooperate. Laura is actually one of my friends on Twitter, and she gave me this book because during the Monsterathon we did a giveaway with her book and it was awesome. And it's a short story collection of like monster stories. And it kind of looks at a lot of interesting things surrounding humanity and being monstrous. And the next challenge space is More to Love, and this is read a book that is over 400 pages. And that is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I actually read Strange the Dreamer last year? No, the year before last, I think. I don't know. It was amazing and I loved it. It was great and it was very metaphorical, purple prose, lots of really just pretty, beautiful writing. Strange the Dreamer is about this guy named Laszlo. He's a librarian. He knows of this place called Weep, but can't remember the name of it. No one can remember the name of it. And then he finds this place, and it's a lot. There are these like godlike creatures, and there's these cool powers they have, and it's terrible and wonderful and beautiful and tragic, and I loved it. So this is the sequel to that. I've been putting it off because of fear, but I'm ready to continue it. Hopefully emotionally ready to continue this. The next book is not my type, and this is a book that seems kind of out of your comfort zone. And that one is going to be Neverland by Margot McGovern. This book actually has PTSD representation, so that's kind of why I wanted to read it, but it is a sort of contemporary book, which is out of my comfort zone. I tend to enjoy those that have mental health representation, but they do go a lot slower for me than most books, but I'm going to attempt it. And then the next space is Tune In, and this is to make a playlist for one of your favorite books. And it's a task challenge, so again, not a reading challenge. Then we have Token of Affection, and this is to read a book that was given to you as a gift. And for this one, I'm going to go with Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. This is a graphic novel. It's got a dark vibe to it. So it's 5 mystery stories in the woods. But I've heard a lot of good things. A lot of people have said that they liked this. A lot of people commented on this when I took pictures of it on Instagram and said that they really liked the book itself, so gonna give it a shot. But it was given to me by my husband at Christmas, so that's why it qualifies for the challenge. Then the next space is Commitment Issues, and this is to read a series, and that's either start a series or continue a series that you already started. And for this one, I'm going to go with The Bells by Danielle Clayton. I got this book when Danielle was at Read Up Greenville, which is a small little book festival that happens in my hometown, and I didn't get it this past year, I got it the year before, so I think 2018, but she was on a panel and she was talking about the bells, and it seems like sort of a fantasy sort of dystopian society where everyone's sort of blah. Everyone's sort of born gray and they can only become beautiful with the help of a bell. And the main character, Camellia? Yeah, Camellia wants to be more than just a bell. She wants to be like the favorite and the best. So I'm guessing there's going to be some competitive nature around this. And then the next challenge is the last task challenge, and it's Lift Them Up, and it's to promote your favorite booktube creators on whatever platform you wish. I'm probably going to do it on Twitter. And the next challenge is You See Me, and this is to read a book where you feel like you are represented in that book. And for this one, I'm going to be going with Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is Leigh Bardugo's first adult fantasy novel. So this is kind of dark academia meets urban fantasy. I love both of those things, so put them together and here we go. But the main character does have PTSD, and that's something that I can relate to. We don't have the same kind of trauma, but it's something that I can relate to. Leigh Bardugo is an Own Voices author of trauma, so that sort of makes me more trusting of the material. So the main character is a student at Yale. She went through something really terrible. I'm guessing it was assault because that was mentioned in a lot of the reviews, so just know that going in there's descriptions of assault in this. And then I think the police are trying to solve this crime, and she knows more secrets that she can't really share with them. There's magic, there's secret societies, and all that good stuff. So I'm sure it's going to be a really interesting read. Plus I got the Waterstones edition. It's really pretty. Then we have Shallow, and that's to read a book that you totally bought for the cover. as if I didn't buy all my books for the covers. And that book is going to be The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. I bought this book at YALLFest because I saw the cover and I was like, oh my gosh, it has gold. But I think it's a retelling of 1001 Nights from, Arabian Nights. But it's described as Game of Thrones meets Arabian Nights. So I'm sure there's like a lot of political stuff and like backstabbing, literally and figuratively, I don't know. And then the last space is Picture Perfect, and this is to read a graphic novel or comic book. So for this one, I'm going to go with Coda Volume 1 by Simon Spurrier and Matthias Bergara. So in this book, the world ended and magic died. The main character is a bard, and he is searching for, I think, like scraps of magic. He's trying to find his wife, and he has a foul-tempered mutant unicorn friend. So it's got to be interesting. There's no way you can go wrong with a bard and a mutant unicorn. Or there's a lot of ways you can go wrong with that. We already have a hefty shelf back here. And then we have the challenges for Blackathon. There's like 2 sections on Blackathon. There was a science fiction fantasy portion, and then there was a, I think, contemporary portion on the challenges, I believe. So I wrote down the science fiction and fantasy portion, which I'm going to primarily focus on. So the first challenge is Janelle Monáe, and this is to read a science fiction or fantasy with LGBTQIA plus rep that features a black protagonist. And for this one, I'm going to read Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. This is the second book of the Broken Earth trilogy. The first book was the 5th season. Yes, I read 5th season last year. Actually, I think I read it during Blackathon. And then I didn't read the next one yet. It's very high fantasy. It's very complex. It was told from 3 different perspectives. It was like, I think, first, second, and third person. Yeah, it was very interesting. So I'm excited to see how things kind of come together in the second. I don't want to spoil anything, but there is some sort of magic with like moving of rocks and energy and stuff like that. It's really cool and very complex. So if you like high fantasy, this is going to be more your cup of tea. And the next one is Nady Okorafor, who wrote Binti, which I just read all 3 of them recently. And it's to read a book that has an Afrofuturistic society. I feel like I had a book picked out for this, and then I don't know where I put it. Where did I put it? Maybe it's one of those. Oh yeah, Obelisk Gate was my one for Afrofuturism. What was the first one then? I don't know. For this challenge, I'm actually going to be reading the 3rd book in the Broken Earth trilogy, and it's The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. I can't really give you a synopsis because I haven't read the second one yet, but that's what's going on there. The next is David F. Walker, and this is to read a comic book by a black author. And so this one might change. I did have a Cyborg comic, but I don't know what happened to it. I'm probably going to read Black Panther, and this is the Complete Collection Volume 1. Unless I can get my hands on Shuri, and then I will be reading that. Or I might just read both. I don't know. But the primary writer for this one is Christopher Priest, I believe. Yeah. The last challenge for Blackathon is Danielle Clayton, and this is to read a science fiction or fantasy book with a cunning and ambitious black protagonist. I've said that like 50 times and I cannot pronounce it. And for this one, I'm going to be reading Kingdom of Souls by Irina Baron. I still have a sticker on there and I can't get it off right now. So the main character is actually in a family of witch doctors, and they can all read the bones and stuff very well, and she's kind of struggling with her own magic. There's like one thing that the main character can still try to sort of develop her magic, and she doesn't try it until the sort of children of the kingdom start vanishing. And so she does what she has to do to get her magic so she can help solve this mystery and sort of save the children. But there's lots of magic. I think that's all that's going to fit on the shelf. But I did want to add, there are 2 books that I'm going to be adding to this TBR, and that is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. So this entire book takes place in an elevator ride down. The main character's older brother was shot, and so he is going to take justice into his own hands. He's got a gun, he's ready to go. In the elevator, as he's going down, I think he interacts with a lot of different like people in his life. At least that's what I've sort of heard about it, but I don't know for sure. But it's written in poetry format, which is something that I really, really love in books, so I'm here for it, and it's won a bunch of awards. And I'm also planning to read The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. My reasoning is that this actually came in my book hookup box along with The Starless Sea, but also my husband has a copy of this, and we did not know that, so now we're going to buddy read it. As I said at the beginning, I'm also going to be participating in Demonathon, but it starts on February 14th, so I'm not going to include that TBR in this video. I'm probably going to make a separate TBR, or I'm going to find a way to fit all of these books into that TBR, because that's a lot of books. But I'm going to put the links for all 3 of those readathons in my description of this video. And that is all for my TBR for February so far. Let me know if you're participating in any of these readathons, or if you're participating in other readathons for February. I would like to know. It's a short month with a lot of readathons. And if you would like more of this junk, please subscribe below. Bye! Tripping over shadows and I'm drowning